Welcome my dear listeners, stay with me to get the spoilers first. And subscribe to the channel. Let's find out what's going to happen on The Young and the Restless. Exclusive Thursday Canadian When Our Day Ahead. Welcome to Hell, was the last thing Sharon and Noah heard before Matt Clark attacked them. On YNR on Thursday, Matt Clark attacked Sharon and Noah Newman at an old petrol station and sent them straight to hell. Matt Clark has Sharon and Noah Newman and it's hell. Matt Clark finally pulled off the ambush he had been planning for weeks on The Young and the Restless. Sharon and Noah Newman drove to an abandoned petrol station on the outskirts of Vegas, following directions they thought came from Nick. When they got there were no cars or cell signals and Matt jumped into their car and said, "Welcome to hell." Meanwhile, Nick was falling off the wagon in a bathroom. Adam was bribing Riza to tell the whole operation. Kane offered to give Malcolm bone marrow. And Stephanie saw that Lily was surprised to hear that Kane cares about her. Matt Clark got exactly what he wanted and Sharon is inside it with her son. Sharon and Noah Newman drove to the middle of nowhere on the outskirts of Vegas because they thought Nick Newman had given them directions. The directions were clear. The instructions were very clear. The directions took them to an empty petrol station with no cars in the parking lot and no cell service for miles. Before they stopped, Sharon knew something was wrong. Noah could feel it. They still got out of the car. "Thanks. We don't like it." Nick did not write the text. Matt Clark wrote the text. Matt has been planning this ambush since he stole Nick's phone a few days ago, and on Thursday he got what he wanted. He jumped into their car, smiled at both of them and said, "Welcome to hell." Read. "Hey there. We really don't like that he got this line. We don't like that he earned it. We hate that Sharon ignored all of the warnings she gave herself in the car because this is Sharon Newman and she always thinks she can love her way out of any bad situation." Noah told his mom that he would stay calm. Matt made it impossible for Noah to keep that promise in about 14 seconds. The worst part is what Matt has been saying all along. He told Nick he was going to feed Nick's addiction until Nick forgot his own name, and then he would go after Sharon, Noah, and Sienna. Matt just put together phases 2 and 3 of his plan into one car. He doesn't have to pay attention to 2 things at once anymore. He has both his mother and son with him and he has been practicing what he wants to do to them for weeks. "Thanks. We don't like it." Nick Newman fell off the wagon in a bathroom while his brother tried to save the day. Nick tried to fight off the pills in the bathroom at the Vegas hotel but he lost. "Thanks. We don't like it." Adam Newman was on the other side of the door telling Sharon not to answer any calls or texts and to stay in Genoa City. If she had heard his message 30 seconds sooner, it would have saved her. She had already gone from Genoa City. She was already on the road. She was already on her way to the petrol station. Riza came to get an update, but Adam and Chelsea Lawson quickly cornered her. Chelsea said she was lying and spying. Adam made threats against her. Riza wouldn't give them anything unless they gave her something in return. If she turned on Matt, Adam promised her a new beginning. Riza is thinking about it, which means that Adam might be able to save Nick from this hell, even though Matt is starting a new one 20 miles away. "Thank you. We love Adam's energy but we hate that we are rooting for him so hard." Nick came out of the bathroom high as a kite and right away started threatening Riza with his brother. The Newman brothers are yelling at a mob lieutenant and working together to save the family. Should be a second. Yes it is. It is also happening while Matt is 3 steps ahead of all of them. "Thank you. We don't like that either." Kane Ashby offered to give Malcolm bone marrow and Lily didn't see it coming. In a much quieter and more surprising part of Thursday's episode, Kane Ashby found Lily Winters crying on the phone with Malcolm Winters at the Chancellor Park Cafe. She tried to get away. Kane wouldn't let her leave. He wanted to know if Malcolm was sick. She told him the truth. Malcolm has aplastic anemia. Malcolm needs someone to give him bone marrow. No one in the family has been a good match. Kane offered to take a test. "Thanks a lot. We are happy to say that." Kane was open with her about why he did what he did. He told her that he is not doing this to win her over, even though he wants to. He told her he is doing it because he wants to help and because he knows how much losing Neil Winters still hurts her. He said that saving Malcolm might help her feel better about the guilt she still feels about her father. Lily cried. The first thing that came to her mind when she heard Malcolm was sick was that Kane knows her well. Kane still remembers her. Stephanie Miller said that Kane must care a lot about Lily when Kane left for the lab. Lily seemed surprised to hear this. "Thank you. We love that we can see Lily's heartbreak in real time at a cafe, but we hate that we know this is going to lead to a love triangle with Damien Kane that someone is going to lose badly. Moira hasn't let a couple go through a slow burn like this in years. Holden Novak is still in shock after learning that his biological father is still alive and dying. Claire Grace found him at Crimson Lights and sat with him while he talked about one of the hardest things he's had to deal with in weeks. He said that after watching a father and son play catch in a park, he bought 2 baseball gloves. He told her he is mad at his mom for keeping them apart for so long. He told her he doesn't know what to do next. Claire understood. Claire didn't see her dad for years. These two are going through the same kind of grief that usually leads to either a great or very messy romance. YNR is taking its time on purpose. Thanks. We really like it. We don't hate anything about it. They saw Stephanie at Society. Stephanie took responsibility for the lie, said sorry to her son, and thanked Claire for being there for him. She also made it clear that she wants Holden to get married right away, because Stephanie's motherly instincts have never met a wall they didn't want to drive a truck through. Holden and Claire had fish tacos. They talked about when to do things. They all agreed that they aren't ready. Also, it's clear that they will get ready at the same time, and the fans will go crazy when that happens. Thank you. This slow burn is great. Keep it safe at all costs. Nick's darkest hour. A deadly crash while high? Spoilers for The Young and the Restless hint at jail. The Young and the Restless has taught viewers that Nick Newman's worst days usually start with a good intention. He tries to keep someone safe. He tries to be in charge. He wants to be the hero. And then almost always things get a lot worse than he thought they would. Nick is in a desperate rescue mission with Matt Clark, a car crash, a serious injury and Matt's escape. This is exactly the kind of nightmare that can turn one bad decision into a full-blown crisis for the Newman family. That's why the latest news about Nick's darkest hour feels so big. The spoiler path leads to a scary scene where Nick tries to stop Matt, loses control, crashes the car, gets hurt badly, and then watches his enemy get away again. Some fans have turned that into an even darker while high angle, but the reliable spoiler reports I found confirm the crash, the injury and the fallout, not a verified drug storyline. What is certain is that Nick's plan to end the threat goes horribly wrong. Matt gets away and the Newman family hears scary news about him. This is not just another action beat, in other words. This kind of crisis can change relationships, make old grudges worse and even get someone arrested if the wrong evidence or accusation is linked to the wreck. Genoa City has always been a place where one crash can lead to a legal mess and one rescue mission can turn into a public nightmare. Nick is going to learn this the hard way. The problems start when Nick thinks he has finally beaten Matt. Spoiler coverage says that Nick is able to save Sienna, tie up Matt, and take control long enough to start driving. But Matt isn't done yet. He fights from the back seat, makes enough noise to make Nick pay attention to 2 things at once, and then he turns the tables in the most dangerous way possible. Nick can't keep both hands on the wheel, so he loses control and crashes. Another summary of the spoilers goes into even more detail about the same nightmare. Matt strangling Nick in the car, Nick hitting the gas and then slamming on the brakes, the car ending up in the woods and Nick waking up hurt and unable to move properly. In that version, Nick still tries to keep things together long enough to ask for help, but it's too late. Matt gets away and Nick ends up in a hospital bed. The Newman women and Noah rush to deal with the aftermath. That picture alone is enough to show why this story is so popular. Nick Newman is the kind of person who usually saves people instead of being saved. He is the son who runs toward danger, the brother who steps in when family members are in danger, and the man who often thinks he can out-stubborn disaster. So when a spoiler makes him the one trapped in a wreck fighting for his life while his enemy gets away, it hurts more than a normal soap injury. The crash isn't just physical. It means something. It says that Nick may have finally gotten himself into a fight that he can't control. And then there's the part that could make this story really bad. Jail. One spoiler report from earlier in this arc already showed how quickly Nick's world can go wrong and get him into trouble with the law. In that version of events, he had already been accused, arrested and jailed because of Matt's lies. This shows that this feud is not just emotional. It is the kind of fight that could land Nick in jail if the wrong person tells the story first. Historical coverage of YNR also shows that Matt has a long history of framing Nick or forcing him into nightmares about prison, which makes the jail tease feel very true to this rivalry. That history is important because soap operas don't repeat themselves by chance. When a character like Matt comes back into Nick's life, the audience is supposed to remember the old wounds. This is the same guy who has lied about Nick before, put him in jail before, and made him a target before. The current crash and escape setup looks like a new part of that long history of destruction. The time of the crash is also important. Spoiler alert. The danger comes right after Nick thinks he has outsmarted Matt. He saves Sienna, ties up Matt, and starts driving, seeming to have the problem under control. But that confidence doesn't last long. Matt gets angry from the back seat and causes the crash. It is the classic soap trap. The win lasts just long enough to make everyone think they can win, and then it falls apart. The fallout starts right away. Victor and Nikki get bad news about Nick, and the emotional effect is said to be huge. One source says that Victor is ready to hear that Nick has crashed, been hurt, or that Matt has escaped again. The family will be shaken by the loss of control. Another says that Nick will be in a hospital bed later with Nikki, Victoria, Sharon, and Noah around him. A doctor will tell him that he might need surgery on his leg. That is a big soap beat because it changes the story from action to aftermath. When Nick gets hurt and Matt gets away, everyone else has to deal with the effects of his bet. Victor becomes more violent. Nikki freaks out. In one version of the spoilers, Sharon and Sally step in to help Nick, which leads to an unexpected alliance between women who don't usually work together in a crisis. The injury itself is the center of a bigger storm because the family has to divide its time between saving Nick and looking for Matt. That's when the name Darkest Hour really makes sense. Nick's worst hour isn't just when he crashes. He crashes after trying to do the right thing, and as a result Matt is free again. His efforts to stop the threat only make it worse. The man he was trying to stop lives, Nick is hurt, and the family is left in the dark. In soap opera terms, that's the best way to make people feel guilty, blame others, and have to make impossible choices. The high part of the fan chatter adds more drama, but I can't confirm it with the spoiler sources I found. What the coverage does confirm is that there was a crash in the middle of a violent fight, not that someone was drunk. So the safer way to read this is that people are reacting to how intense the situation is and using high as a dramatic way to say how dangerous and terrible it feels. The story is still full of action even without that part. If Nick is hurt badly enough to need surgery, it makes people wonder right away who is responsible for the crash. If Matt gets away, someone will want to know how he did it and who helped him. If the police get involved, Nick could easily be suspected again, especially if the evidence isn't clear or is twisted. And since Genoa City never lets a disaster stay private, the crash could turn into a public scandal that starts another round of legal and emotional fighting between the Newmans. That's what the best soap stories do. They start with one man fighting for his life and end with the whole town changing because of the stress. Victor won't accept being helpless. The spoiler reports make that clear. He is already seen as the man who wants to protect the family and will probably use force when he finds out what happened. Nikki is the one who has to deal with the fear. Victoria has to deal with the fact that she might lose her brother or see him suffer because he tried to fix a problem by himself. As Nick's support system gets stronger, Sharon and Noah each have their own emotional roles to play. And Matt is still out there somewhere in the background. That is what keeps the tension going. An injury can be explained by a car crash. It can explain why someone had to stay in the hospital. It can help you understand panic. But it can't make the threat go away. The nightmare goes on because Matt got away. In one spoiler, he is even shown lying in an alleyway after the crash, still angry, still determined, and still sure that Nick is the enemy. The last picture makes it clear that this isn't just one scene. It is a place where more violence, suspicion, and probably blood will happen. In that situation, the jail tease is even more powerful. When a story has a crash, an escape, and a history of false accusations, jail is no longer just a possibility. It is a real threat. Nick has been here before in one way or another. Matt has framed him before. The Newmans have a history of treating legal battles like they are part of the family business. So even if Nick isn't arrested right away after this crash, the story is clearly leading up to questions about who is to blame, what the evidence is, and whether the wrong person will end up in jail while the real bad guy gets away. That is why this spoiler arc is so good. It's not just a crash. It's about a man who tries to save everyone and almost kills himself in the process. It's about Matt staying alive long enough to cause more trouble. It's about Victor and Nikki getting the kind of news that no parent wants to hear. It's about how Nick's attempt to be a hero could get him into more trouble than the threat that was already there. The crash, the injury, the escape, and the jail tease all point to one main truth. Nick's darkest hour may be when all of his old enemies in Genoa City get another chance to kill him. That makes the next chapter seem very hard. If the hospital scenes go as planned, Nick will have to heal and tell what happened at the same time. If the police get involved, he might have to show that he wasn't the one who did it. Nick could be afraid that Matt is coming back for revenge every time he moves if Matt is still on the loose. The possibility of jail makes this story even more painful because it turns injury into weakness and weakness into accusation. The emotional triangle at the center of it all is what makes it feel like YNR. Nick wants to keep his family safe. Victor is trying to make sure that things go his way. Nikki is trying to keep everyone from breaking down because of the stress. These three forces don't often move in sync for long, and a crisis like this will always cause problems. Nick and Matt aren't the only ones involved in the crash. It's about what happens when the Newmans don't believe the same story anymore. So no, the reliable spoiler reports do not literally confirm a high storyline. But they do confirm something just as shocking. Nick's rescue mission goes wrong, he crashes, Matt gets away, the Newmans get bad news, and the fallout could lead to surgery, suspicion, and maybe even jail. This is one of Nick Newman's most dangerous hours in a long time. A crash in Genoa City is never just a crash. It's a turning point. And for Nick Newman, this could be the time when everything changes. And this is where everything stops feeling like a game, and starts feeling like a point of no return. Because when someone like Nick hits rock bottom, it doesn't just shake him, it shakes everyone who ever believed he would always get back up. What makes this moment so powerful isn't just the crash or the chaos. It's the quiet question underneath it all. Was this the moment Nick finally lost control? Or the moment he realizes he never really had it? And honestly, this is where I think the story gets even more dangerous. Because Matt isn't just running anymore. He's winning. And that changes the rules for everyone. If Nick survives this physically but not mentally, what kind of man does he come back as? And if the evidence turns the wrong way, could the real tragedy be watching the hero become the suspect? Here's what I can't stop thinking about. What if this isn't Nick's lowest point? What if it's just the beginning of something even darker? And what if Matt's endgame was never just revenge, but breaking the Newman family from the inside, piece by piece? I have a feeling the next chapter won't just be about recovery, it'll be about consequences. And not everyone is going to survive them the same way. So now I'm curious. Do you think Nick can actually clear his name if things go wrong? Or is he walking straight into another trap? And if you had to choose, who do you trust more to fix this mess? Nick or Victor? Because something tells me, one wrong move from here, and everything changes again.